Welcome back, guys, to another Clash Royale video, and today I want to share with you guys some of the methods that I use to counter the Sparky, because the Sparky can be extremely overwhelming when you first start dealing with him. Now, I have 3 replays to share with you guys today against Sparky decks. This battle here is against a level 8, so I do have a bit of a level advantage here, so please keep that in mind, but it does showcase some of the methods pretty well, which is why I wanted to share with you guys. Now, the biggest weakness with the Sparky card obviously is his really long attack timer, so you have to use that to your advantage. Some of my favorite techniques are using stuff like the Zap spell to reset his attack timer, or using cheap troops like 1 Electro Skeletons or 2 Electro Goblins, wasting one of his attacks and resetting his attack timer, allowing you to go in with other troops on the side to take him out. Right here, I'm going with some Barbarians. Going to go ahead and use the Zap spell to reset the attack timer on that Sparky, and as a result, the Barbarians do a decent amount of damage to that tower, bringing it all the way down to 500 health. But watch right here, guys, he has a pretty strong counter push going on with that Giant and the Sparky combo. I'm going to go ahead and use the Inferno Tower to take out the Giant, and then I'm going to use some Goblins with a surround technique to take out the Sparky, because obviously the Sparky does have a really long attack timer, and if you use a surround technique with stuff like 1 Electro Skeletons or 2 Electro Goblins, you can actually take him out pretty easily, because the Sparky does only shoot one of your troops, allowing the other 2 troops to take him out. You can also use 5 Electro Barbarians to take out the Sparky with a surround technique, but it is a little bit more risky, because if you make a mistake, the Sparky will target all of your Barbarians in one attack and take him out, and then you just wasted 5 Electro doing nothing. Whereas if you use 1 Electro Skeletons or 2 Electro Goblins and you make a mistake, you don't lose as much Elixir. Now right here, he does drop down the Sparky way in the back of his base. The Sparky costs 7 Elixir, so I know I have an opportunity to go in on the left hand lane with a counter push, taking out that tower, and also forcing him to spend Elixir defending his tower on the left hand side instead of reinforcing his Sparky push on the right hand side. And as a result, I can use the Goblins once again to take out that Sparky. Now, things are looking really good here, guys. I have a 1 crown lead so far. His other tower is all the way down to 500 health. Right here, he's going in with some Barbarians as well as a Giant. I'm going to use the Fire Spirits to try and take out the Barbarians, but the Giant does soak up all that damage. And as a result, I do have to use Barbarians of my own to take him out. Now right here, we've got a pretty strong counter push going on with that Hog Rider, some Barbarians, and a Musketeer. I'm going to go ahead and use a second Musketeer here. He drops the freeze spell, freezing my Barbarians, my Hog Rider, and my Musketeer. But things are looking really good so far, guys. 10 seconds left. The Musketeer in the middle there will take out that tower, giving me a 2 crown lead so far. And with 3 seconds left, guys, we won't get the 3 crown victory. Let's go ahead to the next replay here. So here we are, guys, with the next replay, facing a level 9 here. Now, that last battle was against a Sparky Giant user, which is a little bit easier to deal with versus the Royal Giant Sparky combo, because the Royal Giant obviously has a ranged attack, and as a result, he ends up standing right next to the Sparky, making it a little bit harder to take him out. Now, the Sparky also doesn't target air troops, and as a result, he can be countered with the 3 Elixir minions or the Minion Horde, for example. But most Sparky users are prepared for that and will have either the arrows or a wizard in their deck, so you can't always rely on having the air troops to counter the Sparky. Now right here, my opponent is going to start setting up a strong push with the Royal Giant Sparky combo. I do have a 1 crown lead because I pushed pretty aggressively in the beginning. Now watch how I deal with this push, guys. The Royal Giant making his way to the bridge. I do have the Inferno Tower in my deck, so I'm going to go ahead and place down the Inferno Tower, distracting the Royal Giant and also taking him out. And also, remember I mentioned using cheap troops to distract the Sparky. Right here, I use the 2 Elixir Fire Spirits to reset the attack timer on the Sparky, and then use some Goblins as well as some Barbarians to take him out. Now, I did spend more Elixir than the cost of the Sparky right there with the Barbarians as well as the Goblins and the Fire Spirits, but I do have the Barbarians on a counter push because of it, and as a result, he has to drop down a wizard to counter my barbarians. So overall, that was a pretty even elixir trade. And right here, he's going to go in once again with that Royal Giant, and I actually dropped down the Inferno Tower a little bit too late, and as a result, the Royal Giant does lock onto my tower, and he does some pretty insane damage, but I am going to use the Zap spell to force the Royal Giant to retarget back to my Inferno Tower. And right here, going to go ahead and use the Goblins once that Wizard has locked onto my tower to take him out. So now we're getting into the double elixir period here in a couple of seconds. I have a 1 crown lead, but my tower on the right hand side is all the way down to 800 health, so he does have a chance of coming back here. Now right here, I'm going to go with an aggressive counter push on the left hand side. He drops his Sparky there, which costed him 7 elixir, and watch this guys, the Sparky locks onto my Hog Rider, but I'm going to use the Zap spell to force him to reset his attack timer, and as a result, I do some pretty intense damage to that tower, bringing it all the way down to 1400 health in the process. Now right here, he drops down another Royal Giant. Going to go ahead and use the Inferno Tower once again to take out that Royal Giant, and right here, Sparky making his way over that bridge once again. Going to go ahead and use some Barbarians with a surround technique right here, guys, to take out that Sparky, but it does have a second Sparky supporting it. So things are looking pretty nasty right there. He has 2 Sparkies down, as well as a Royal Giant. Going to go ahead and use the Zap spell to reset all of their attack timers, and then use the Goblins to take out that Sparky in the back. Now right here, he does have a Royal Giant doing some pretty intense damage to my King Tower, and once again dropping down a Sparky. And watch this, guys. Unfortunately, the Sparky took a little bit too long to attack my Goblin, and in that time, the Barbarians walked up to the Goblin and in the process got themselves killed. But the Musketeer in the back did manage to take out that Sparky. Meanwhile, on the back in his base there, I did send in my Hog Rider to do some more damage to his tower, bringing it all the way down to 260 health, and there, with the arrows, bringing it down to 160 health. Now right here, guys, I'm doing something super risky. He drops down the Sparky. Going to go ahead and use my Hog Rider as well as the Zap spell to reset the attack timer on that Sparky, allowing my Hog Rider to take out the King Tower, giving me the 3 crown victory. Let's go ahead to a final replay here. So here we are, guys, with the final replay, facing another level 9 here. Now he's also using the Royal Giant Sparky strategy. Both of us at the beginning here are going to start building up some elixir. Once we reach 10 elixir, he's going to go ahead and place down the Sparky behind his King Tower. And I want to counter that by placing my Musketeer behind my King Tower, because that's really the only play I can make at this point. I can't use my Inferno Tower, because if he has a Royal Giant, it'll outrange my Inferno Tower. And watch this, guys. Once the Sparky makes his way up to that bridge, he's going to support it with some Barbarians up front. Of course, I do have the Fire Spirits in my deck to counter those Barbarians. And then watch this. I'm going to go ahead and use the arrows to take out that Princess, and then use the Zap spell to reset the attack timer on that Sparky, allowing my Musketeer to take him out. Now, it might seem like I spent a ton of elixir defending that push there, but we actually are pretty even here. I have 2 Musketeers down as well as some Goblins. He has a Royal Giant, and watch this, guys. The Royal Giant all the way down to 25% health. Watch how much damage he does to my tower with only 25% health. Pretty crazy if you ask me. He does a total of 600 damage to my tower with only 25% health. Now right here, I have a pretty strong pushing hand with that Hog Rider. So going to go ahead on the offensive, do a split push with the Barbarians. First of all, he's going to go ahead and drop down the Elixir Pump in the back left corner there, because of course the Royal Giant Sparky combo does require a lot of Elixir for a successful push. So right here, putting the pressure on with that Hog Rider push, he drops down some Barbarians to try and defend, but of course the Fire Spirits Zap combo does kill him pretty quickly, and as a result, I do a pretty crazy amount of damage to that tower, bringing it all the way down to 600 health, and also in the process, he was forced to spend a ton of elixir defending his tower. Now I'm going to keep the pressure on by dropping down my Musketeer right at the bridge and force him to use one of his cards to try and defend against his Musketeer. So right here, he drops down the Sparky, but actually my Musketeer does lock onto the tower, giving me the 1 crown lead so far. And also, I forced him to use his Sparky out of rotation. Now because I do have a 1 crown lead so far, guys, I can use the Goblins on a surround technique to take out that Sparky. And that's a great example, guys, as to how to counter the Royal Giant Sparky deck. You have to keep the pressure on, because like I said, the Sparky Royal Giant combo takes a ton of elixir to set up a push. So you have to try and keep the pressure on, and if possible, try and counter push the opposite lane as soon as you see them drop down a Royal Giant or a Sparky. And that'll force them to spend elixir defending their other tower, and hopefully they won't have enough elixir left to set up a strong push. Now right here, He's going in once again with that Sparky Royal Giant combo. Watch this, guys, using the Inferno Tower to counter the Royal Giant, as well as using the Zap Spell to reset the attack timer on the Sparky, followed up with a surround technique with those Barbarians to take it out. And with 10 seconds left, it's looking extremely unlikely that he'll be able to make a comeback. So there we go, guys. The Sparky does die to my Crown Tower, giving me the 1 crown victory. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope it was helpful. If it is, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.